YouTube, there was a hilarious story on Fox News today. Of course, Fox News is the far right-leaning news program in the United States. It caters primarily to the over 50 demographic. It caters primarily to the sort of people who would be more at home out in the mountains somewhere with a shotgun, you know, shooting random small animals, or trying to lynch gay people or blacks. This is what Fox News pertains to. It's no different. But there was an interesting story on Fox this morning, and I got a really good chuckle out of it, and my cat's going to join me here. Hello, kitty. But there's this girl named Sage Hatch from South Pasadena High School, and she started a Modesty club. And right away when I heard that term and saw it on the screen, I knew I was going to get a good chuckle. I'm still chuckling now. The idea, look, from a logical perspective only, it's just a silly idea. But let's get into some of the reasons why and talk a little bit about the evangelical nature behind this. She started this club, and it claims about 1,000 members worldwide, about 14 in her high school. So it's not a large movement, which is good, because it's in California, so you've got to expect most of the people there aren't fundamentalists. Hopefully. There are probably pockets of lunatics there, but most of the people are, you know, just left-leaning loons rather than right-leaning loons. And her brother started a no-cussing club. Basically, you'd pledge not to curse. It's hilarious. Just think about it. Here we are in 2012. People are starting clubs where cover up your cleavage, cover up those sinful legs of yours. Don't curse because it's degenerate, terrible, immoral behavior. Sorry, but curse words are just words that the establishment and society didn't like. And most of the curse words you hear now didn't exist when the Bible did, so I don't think Jesus and Jehovah talked about it very much. And interestingly, her website for this Modesty Club is actually, it says something like approved by the Parents Television Council. Well, I looked them up too, and it turns out they claim to be nonpartisan. That is, that they claim to be an organization that's primarily just, is this something that is safe for your kids to watch? Find out more now. How many swears are used, you know, sexuality, whatever, in TV programming. But actually, they're quite clearly a Christian front. For one thing, the main picture there is of the kid star from 2.5 Men there who went off on a tirade about how his show was filth and anti-Christian, and you can't be a good Christian and watch 2.5 Men, which was nonsense. I mean, it's clear he was just pandering to evangelicals, probably trying to get a job, maybe as a minister or something like that, to make more money than he's already made because he's super rich already. He's a greedy little asshole. But anyway, it's quite clear that this site is not unbiased and nonpartisan. It's quite clear that anything that targets religion will be lambasted as inappropriate material and X-rated. But the idea behind a Modesty Club and behind trying to prevent teenage sexuality of any form is ludicrous. Because teens have always been sexual, and they always will be sexual. I was sexual as a teen. You were probably sexual as a teen, too. Maybe you're a teen now, and you're already sexual. Most of us are. That's just the way the world works. You get those hormones going, you're around people of the other gender. Now, I know, of course, in some schools, and my thought is that this Hatch person would probably be better off being homeschooled. Because, and this is what I recommend for evangelicals, please homeschool your children, for 2 reasons. Number 1, your child is not ready to see the actual world. You should keep them on the family farm, or in the family church, or in the family business, which is run by people who praise Jehovah all day, and never let them see the light of day outside. And you should relocate to the most conservative corner of the United States possible, because these individuals will be psychologically damaged by seeing real individuals who use logic. Logic sort of hurts the machinery of a fundamentalist mind. Freedom hurts their mind as well. They don't like freedom because they've been told that they're a slave to Jesus, but that somehow that slavery simultaneously makes them free. It's a really weird system. These people don't use rational logic. Number two, because it keeps these loonies away from the rest of the population and stops the infection. It's sort of like a zombie flesh-eating virus or something. You know, you get one of them out there, they start ranting about Jehovah, and they start attempting to convert other people. They can't stop converting. It's like their form of addiction. It's a habit to them because they think that it'll win them kudos in heaven. They think, I don't know, Jesus give you a wheat field or something. It's rather sad the way these people think. But teenagers have always been sexualized. And the moral majority is so indignant about this topic. They think, oh, people should only be sexual after they're married. They should never divorce because that's a sin too. They should never do anal sex or oral sex or any of these horrible things. Those are terrible, terrible sodomite sins. It's like when the evangelicals rant to me about Sodom and Gomorrah, and I've had more than a few evangelicals come to me and talk about how America's becoming Sodom, how the United States is now full of gays and atheists, and it's terrible, and it's going to collapse the country. Well, if you read Ezekiel, as I pointed out on a previous video, actually they point out in the New Testament that the story of Sodom refers to not taking care of the poor, and that's why they were destroyed. The evangelicals, of course, are famous for supporting a bunch of neoconservative Republicans who actually hate the poor. So, not very godly of you. You're going to hell. But anyway, the idea that it's inappropriate for teens to show their skin is just ludicrous. For one thing, not that many years ago, a teenager was considered basically a full-fledged adult. Not that long ago, early, turn of the century, by not 2000s, but the 1900s, turn of the century, teenagers would have walked around with guns, they would have had full-time jobs, owned property, probably been married in many cases. This was common to these people. They were already grown-ups. They may not have been able to vote, but otherwise they were a fully fledged adult. They drank and they did everything else. They smoked. There was no problem with this. People had no moral quandary about this whatever. Teenagers often had sex at that time just as they often have sex now. Now, I'm not saying that some 40-year-old should be banging teenage girls or whatever, but they're going to bang one another. It's natural. That's how the human race is perpetuated, is through sex. We are a species that has evolved, and I know you folks also hate evolution and think that it's wrong or sinful or, just a conspiracy of some sort. But we use sex to reproduce, to create more humans. We would go extinct without it. I've had a lot of people talk about how bad lust is and how that destroys entire civilizations, when in reality that's kind of the reason that humans exist in the first place. In a way, you could say our entire survival boils down to having a lot of sex and being gluttonous and eating a lot. Sometimes to a fault in killing ourselves with obesity, but for the most part, yes. Sex and lust and sexuality and teen sexuality, these are good things. There's nothing wrong with them. Saying that there's some sort of moral problem with these things is just pandering to your own religion. And this club, I'm sure, will appeal to all of the evangelicals, all 14 of them in this school. And it may gain more momentum, for instance, in a really backwards Republican state. I'm sure Alabama would eat this stuff up. I'm sure that there is some evangelical in Alabama who saw this story and they're thinking about doing the same thing in their school. My thought is that for individuals who are atheistic or who are tired of the indignance of the moral majority, you should start an immodesty club in school. Especially if you see a modesty club where people are encouraged to dress just at the very limits of the dress code in every possible way and do things to shock and outrage the moral majority. Number one, you'll get more members. It will be clear that the moral majority is the moral minority. That'll be hilarious to see. And number two, it'll make the point that, yes, you have every right to dress how you want. For instance, I wear a long-sleeve shirt and pants every day. I don't wear t-shirts, except very rarely in the summer when it's very warm. I don't ever wear shorts under any circumstances. I don't do this because I'm ashamed of my body or I'm trying to suppress my sexuality. I do it because I find it comfortable. I find it physically comforting to wear pants and a long-sleeve shirt. I think I look better in them. I find them more comfortable. There's no reason for me to wear shorts and a t-shirt. But I don't do it because I'm ashamed of my body and I want to suppress my sexual drive and put on a chastity belt and beat myself whenever I get an erection. This sort of medieval nonsense should have died centuries ago. The human race, had it not been for the Dark Ages, would be way past where we are now, most likely, unless there was another Dark Age situation that happens under different circumstances, and probably we wouldn't have all these hang-ups about sex. For instance, look back in the 80s and the moral majority was indignant about the topic of marijuana. Well, that stoner kid, he smokes marijuana, he's so immoral, he's violating God's principles. He's got long hair. You gotta realize, not that long ago, not that many decades ago, if I was in high school with hair of this length, it'd probably be cause for me being called a faggot. And there would be no recourse for that because there were no anti-bullying laws at that time that would have compensated for being called such a slur. And that would have happened up until like the mid to late 1990s. It wasn't really that long ago. It's rather sad that these individuals, they think that they've got such moral outrage that they feel the need to spread it to others and try to raise trouble. And then they feel persecuted by individuals who exempt themselves from their system, from their little club. And you'll probably see that the individuals within this Modesty club will eventually begin to pressure other people to join. They might pressure the school to try to increase the dress code standards as far as what modesty pertains to. You may see this happen. When you get more than one fundamentalist or conservative together in an area, they tend to try to draw out the worst in other people, and they tend to try to consolidate power. It's a power grab, is what it is. Just the same as the Jehovah of the Bible, of course, is a jealous God and smites everyone who disagrees with him on a constant basis. So this Modesty Club is hilarious, but it could be quite harmful. I suggest that the students in this school, if possible, rally against this as quickly as possible and create an Immodesty Club to encourage people to dress essentially as openly as possible. Perhaps sport pentagrams, get tattoos, upside-down crosses, anything of this nature. Load your iPods with some black metal, just to piss people, not even if you like these things, just to piss them off. Because it will show them that no, you're not going to take it sitting down, and you're tired of other people being, trying to usurp your beliefs. Now, it could be that these people are just going to sort of stay in their club and, listen to show tunes and do some swing music because this modern Lady Gaga is sinful sort of material. That could be the case, but more often than not, when you see something like this happen, they try to spread it as much as possible. I've had my own misfortunes with such movements, and so I wish the students in this high school well. I hope they organize against this. I know they could get 10 times that many people to join an Immodesty Club. People would find that hilarious. Meet up after school to drink energy drinks and make out. That sounds cool to me. I wish there was such a club in my high school. I would have gone every single day. There you have it. That's natural. That's what's natural to man. Not natural because the devil has corrupted the human race. Natural because that's how we survive. That's how we reproduce. Sexuality is good. Showing skin is good. These are good things. There are still nudists in the world. Are they sinful for doing so? You won't see the Christians talking